Welcome everyone. I'm super stoked you guys are here. So welcome to the Toxicity series in the Lifestyle S.O.S kind of new little brand that I've got going on. The reason is when I think about where we're at today is that Lifestyle S.O.S is literally where we're at. We have let this gone way too far in our health. And I want to give you guys a bunch of free tools to understand and bring forth in your lives so that you can empower yourselves and feel a lot better about your day-to-day situation in our current, just current lifestyle, current time, current COVID time, current, not even COVID time, current time where we may be suffering from new diagnosis of comorbidities. I'm aware that when I work at the hospital, I am seeing people my age, I'm not going to tell you how old that is, but people my age who have multiple lists of medications, multiple lists of, suffering from illnesses, disease, autoimmune, cancers. This is a big deal, guys. This is where we're headed faster. That's what we're saying, right? We're heading there faster. And currently, we're still in a time where our children are not going to outlive us. And that is very, very frightening. Okay, so without further ado, I'm actually going to share my screen and we're going to dive into just a couple of minutes of education every day for the next 5 days. And when I mean a couple of minutes, like 5, okay? We're not going into big, we're not diving in deep here. We're just gonna really become empowered in just very detailed things that you may not have thought of. So my goal with this is to have you think outside of the box we're currently living in, to have you explore maybe a couple of things you weren't aware of that we're supposed to know, according to many people who are supposed to have our best interests at heart. We are supposed to just be aware of these things, and the average person is not. So I think this is really important and key to us becoming more empowered as a collective. Is knowledge is power, and it needs to be in the hands of each individual, specifically pertaining to their health. Okay, so let's dive in. So let's dive in again to this amazing little series. So the Lifestyle S.O.S Toxicity series. Today's chat, very short, fun chat, is all going to be about the toxic bucket and the toxic bucket theory of health and disease. This should not be considered a theory because it's been proven over and over again that toxins create illness. Example, I love this example. I use it all the time. The biggest example in history was watching cigarettes be approved, become something very mainstream that they basically said your doctor smoked, the government approved of. It was a huge cash cow. And then all of a sudden, they realized that this toxicity for example, in one puff of a cigarette, the oxidative stress is so huge that they realized that it was causing lung cancer. And guess what? What's really interesting about that is cigarettes aren't even banned. They're actually now just more expensive, but they're still available to anyone over a certain age, young people to be exact, that may not have the capabilities of making decisions. Specifically, when you think about the brains and how cigarettes impact dopamine, and thinking that all of a sudden, we have to understand that these things are still happening today in our world. Okay, so that's just one example. So I want to talk a little bit about you questioning yourself today. When you leave this video today, ask yourself a couple questions. This is not to scare you. This is to bring awareness. With only once you actually become aware of where you are currently at, or where it's like when we had to deal with our condition, we had to become and get really real about what is this area that we're at. And that sometimes takes a little bit of work mentally. And I want you guys to not feel this is just inventory. That's what I want you guys to go in with this. This is just inventory, no judgment. And so ask yourself these questions. Do I have chronic stress? Am I constantly stressed out? Especially in today's day and age where we are being bombarded by stressful situations, conversations, elections, whatever it is. There is stress that is being bombarded at us, but how are we handling it? Do we feel like we are handling the stress well? Do we eat processed foods? Do we overuse antibiotics? So in your life, How many times have you had antibiotics? If you've answered more than 2 or 3, you likely have had too much. Pathogens, because I'm going to tell you something about antibiotics too in the coming slides, okay, in the coming days. Pathogens, environmental toxins. Now, this is one of the biggest problems, is that many of us don't realize that in our day-to-day, we are exposed to over thousands of toxins, and that we think it's just okay. We think our body can evolve with that, and it can't. We have invented more toxins. Our body was meant to evolve with the toxicity of our world in the natural form. And what we have created in the last 80 years is over 80,000 toxins that the body cannot, the body cannot absorb or compute or understand. And so our liver disease, our chronic illnesses are on the rise. Frequent uses of NSAIDs. So are you taking a lot of medications? Are you taking antacids? Are you taking any X, Y, and Z for chronic illnesses? And then do you have food sensitivities? Many people don't realize that when they have food sensitivities, that is a story in itself. So this is kind of what happens throughout our lives. And this is what people do not realize with our children. So our children, for example, and I'm not going into like some crazy debate here. This is just the real deal. So our children are born with a clean slate, which means that they do not have any exposure to toxicity. Their bodies are not capable of the absorption of toxicity. And yet we inject them with multiple different toxins that are so toxic that it's just amazing that we don't have any more issues, to be honest. And so they go through this phase, and then they go through drinking breast milk, which now has been shown to, in our current day today, being one of the most toxic substances in the world. And so the toxic bucket gets a little bit fuller, right? So just like this little area here. And so as we start to build disease, so as we get a little bit older, we start to be exposed to more fast food in our Western culture. We start to, really use a lot of products. If you're a woman, you're putting makeup on, you're putting a lot of creams on your skin, you're shaving your legs with shaving cream, you're using your fresh scents, you're dousing yourself in perfume. If you're a man, you're using Axe, you're, putting underarm deodorant on, your clothes is all full of cleaner that's literally on your skin for the entire day. And so we start to build, our toxic bucket gets a little bit fuller. And what happens then is that our body is trying to adjust. It's trying to create ease and health in us. It is its job to deliver the kidneys, through the liver, the kidneys, and all of the organs to release this toxic material, right? And so it does it pretty efficiently for as long as it can. Now, as we finally start to be my age, and we start to be exposed and we have a lot of toxic load, many of us, the bucket has overflown. And so at this point, we start to feel twinges of discomfort, twinges of ill health, twinges of maybe we have a very specific pain. And so we start to see our doctor more and more. And then our doctor will prescribe us some sort of pharmaceutical, because that's what they're trained to do. Nothing wrong with that. That's just the system they were taught in. And so to help alleviate a symptom, which is extremely important at that time. The problem is that we don't go into any type of lifestyle medicine. We don't learn about the fact that that Band-Aid is only going to last so long. It's also going to increase your toxic load, because it is very hard on either the liver, the kidneys, whatever that medication is hard on, could be the brain too, who knows, they're all different. And so then the cycle repeats, because then a new problem will arise. And so we continue with this pharmaceutical Band-Aid, and then we don't do lifestyle medicine in an integrative way to help to maybe slow down on the medication or slowly get over the need for it. Okay, so that's the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit of in your face. It's talking about the real deal. This is something I'm really passionate about, because it's everywhere. It frustrates me. And I think that this slide right here is basically where we are today. We are at the point that almost every surface we touch, every lungful of air we breathe, every drink of water we take, and every bite of food that goes in our bodies is causing havoc versus causing healing. And that is something that we did not sign up for. That is something that we want to know and want to know more about and become more empowered and more verbal and expressive to tell the people that are above us that have control over this, whether they be companies, whether they be embodied or bodies of power, that we want this to change. Okay, so again, sorry, this is our video for today, and then I will dive into a little bit more education tomorrow, which is super exciting.